Hello and welcome back to the Shakey Sonnet Show. I am Tootight Lautrec, the drag laureate of the Sonnetarium, and here we are once again in the Sonnetarium at the bottom of the down staircase in the permanently sequestered remainder section of an unnamed local library which may or may not have two stone lions. Wait, is that a flower girl lion I see? Is that a ring bearer lion? Oh, Dr. Franken-sonnet. Yes, I said yes, I will, yes. Sorry? What's that? That's not what you meant? What do you mean that's not what you meant? I'm all ready and everything. Look to the sonnets, you say. Huh. Well, it's sonnets 115 and 116 this week, and oh, I see. Yes, perhaps things aren't how they at first seem to be in the sonnets, and, well, okay, I see what Dr. Franken-sonnet means. I guess there's nothing left to do but just delve into what's going on here in Sonnet 115 and Sonnet 116. Now, it's true, in Sonnets 109 through 112, we saw that those sonnets were filled with confessions of infidelities and refusals to accept responsibility and or consequences for those foibles which may have been perpetrated in earlier sonnets. But then 113 and 114 seemed to be getting back on track to proper love sonnets. And I was so looking forward to some happy-go-lucky, straightforward love sonnets. But yes, it's likely that perhaps 113 and 114 weren't what they seemed to be at first, and that they were perhaps tinged with just a tiny little bit of subtext running counter to the happy, happy, joy, joy on the surface. And, well, Dr. Franken-sonnet, every party has a pooper, and that's why we've invited you. So let's see what he's on about here and see what exactly he's talking about. Let's start with Sonnet 115. Sonnet 115. Those lines that I before have writ do lie, even those that said I could not love you dearer. Yet then my judgment knew no reason why my most full flame should afterwards burn clearer. But reckoning time, whose millioned accidents creep in twixt vows and changed decrees of kings, tan sacred beauty, blunt the sharpest intents, divert strong minds to the course of altering things. Alas, why, fearing of time's tyranny, might I not then say, now I love you best, when I was certain or in certainty, crowning the present, doubting of the rest? Love is a babe. Then might I not say so, to give full growth to that which still doth grow? So let's look at the first quatrain. Those lines before that I before have writ do lie. Everything that I said before about how much I loved you, I lied. I know, but I mean, now I love you even more. Even those that said I could not love you dear, yet then my judgment knew no reason why my most full flame should afterwards burn clearer. So my heart burns clearer. My love for you is even more aflame than it was when I said so long ago, I didn't think it was possible, but now I love you even more. Or so says our slick and slippery Shakespearean sonnet narrator. We get to the second quatrain. But reckoning time, and here it could be, reckoning time could be I'm reckoning with time. I'm taking account of all that time does, or it could be reckoning time as in time the destroyer calls everything to account and wrecks everything. Time catches up with everything, even my lies. And reckoning time, whose millioned accidents, and apparently millioned was a newly coined word, but I think it's a lovely word to talk about all the millions and millions and millions of things that occur all throughout time, whose million accidents creep in twixt vows. Well, time does creep in between vows, but it also creeps in sometimes between lovers' bed sheets, between two people who have made a vow, and one of those is not the other person who made the vow. So creeps in twixt vows and chains decrees of kings. Kings come and go, and so too do their laws. It tans sacred beauty. It turns what was once a beautifully smooth face into tanned, leathery, crepey, wrinkly skin. It blunts the sharpest intents, and it diverts strong minds. Oh, wait. Diverts strong minds, like, for instance, as in now, when I break off mid-sentence and don't complete. There's no predicate to this subject. Diverts strong minds. Now, there are some editors who are having a problem with the fact that it breaks off right in the middle of the line, but since we're here and we may as well have a cocktail party, or rather a spoiled wedding reception vocabulary word. We have one today, which is aposiopesis. Yes, I said it. Aposiopesis. A-P-O-S-I-O-P-E-S-I-S. Aposiopesis. Say that after your third or fourth toast. Aposiopesis is a figure where the speaker breaks off mid-sentence. Who knew there was a word for that? But cheers to aposiopesis. Very cherry-like, because imagination. So many commentators are bothered by this breaking off, this aposiopesis, but I think that the diverts strong minds is really covers the whole break, and it makes the example quite effectively. So then we get into the third quatrain. The thought breaks off of what all of time does, and then, alas, why, fearing time's tyranny, might I not then say, now I love you best? Well, even though I've said that before, why can't I say it again? Because no time like the present. When I was certain or in certainty, I felt it then, and so I said it then, crowning the present, doubting of the rest. Forgive me for saying that I loved you when I did really love you, and that I thought I couldn't love you more, and then impossibly now I do love you more. But I had to do it because, tick-tocking time. Then the couplet. Love is a babe. Love is Cupid, the mythological figure of Cupid, which is depicted as a baby. Love is a babe, then might I not say so, to give full growth to that which still doth grow. And love is a babe then could be back then when I was telling you how much I loved you, or it could be therefore. Therefore might I not say so, to give full growth to that which still doth grow. So this is an enigma wrapped within a sonnet. Cupid is forever a baby who always grows old without ever growing old, just like our love, I guess. Okay, so Sonnet 115. If Dr. Franken's sonnet were to present Sonnet 115 to me, I'd believe it, and I'd be forgiven also for taking Sonnet 116 at face value as well, as many people have. So I'll read 116. You may have heard it once or twice before in your lives. Sonnet 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. Very nice, often read at weddings. Whether it should be or not, that's another story. But here, if you look closely, is a sonnet that defines by negation the very first line. Let me not. There are all these negatives in here. Let me not, to the marriage of true minds, do what? Admit impediments. Now, think about that, if you will. Impediments, a 4-syllable word, is a bit of an impediment if you're reading. It takes a long time to say. And also, if you look at the hard-stopping consonants in these first two lines, the T's, the M's, the D's, admit impediments, the D, M, T, M, P, D, M, T again, is a bit of an impediment. Followed up by love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds. Now, again, let's think about this admit impediments. Admit could be it does not allow impediments to enter, or it could be it does not confess to impediments. Because if we remember, never say that I was false at heart, that's admitting an impediment right there. So, and then here is not what love is, but here is what love is not. It's not, love is not love which alters, it's not love if it alters when things go kablooey, when things change, and it doesn't bend and it doesn't remove, which is all very nice. And perhaps one would be forgiven for thinking that Shakespeare implanted this in here, but in fact, it's also not just a marriage, but it's a marriage of true minds. It's not the marriage of true bodies, which I think is significant. Now, this has taken a bit of the language from the actual marriage or wedding service from the Elizabethan Book of Common Prayer, which I will read to you. Wedding service from the Elizabethan Book of Common Prayer. I require and charge you, as you will answer at the dreadful day of judgment, when the secrets of all hearts shall be disclosed, that if either of you do know of any impediment why ye may not be lawfully joined together in matrimony, that ye confess it. For be ye well assured that so many as be coupled together otherwise than God's word doth allow are not joined together by God, neither is their matrimony lawful. So I think we have enough evidence now that we are talking about the love between two men. And we don't know much about homosexuality in Shakespeare's time, except that it was punishable by death. But we can also surmise that there were pockets in society where homosexuality was no big deal, kind of like there are today. In certain cities, it's no big deal. In Shakespeare's time, the theater, for example, probably was no big deal. So this is a marriage of true minds. Same-sex marriage wasn't just impossible. Actual marriage wasn't just impossible, it was unthinkable. And when stable, sanctioned unions between lovers are not just unthinkable, but impossible, then liaisons must be kept hidden. There are no rules, there are no laws for such a union. And so instability is baked in to the very nature of that relationship, which I think we've been seeing in these sonnets as we've been going along. And I point this out only because these sonnets are love sonnets of an unstable relationship. And I think if we understand the full societal context of that, it's easier to see partially why those instabilities exist here. Back to the sonnet. Love is not love. Love doesn't alter, love doesn't bend. Very nice. And then the second quatrain. oh no. And Booth thinks that this could be an instance of someone in the crowd saying, an objection, but it could also be the couple, someone in the couple saying, oh no, we should not be married, for whatever reasons we don't know. But on the surface, it's just a negation of what has come before it. Love is not love that alters or bends or removes with a remover. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on temples and tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark. And that's quite nice. The star and the bark, the assonance in between the star and the bark, and also the fixity of the star and the wanderingness of the bark. And this takes on the Petrarchan tradition, in which the lover is depicted as adrift on a raging sea. And line 7, the star, it is the star to every wandering bark. Most commentators note that it's much like Julius Caesar. In Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 1, 160 to 162, Julius Caesar says, "But I am as constant as the northern star, of whose fixed and resting quality there is no fellow in the firmament." So if this is the northern star, perhaps Joni Mitchell is the poet who can answer back to the sonnets when she sings just before our love got lost. You said, I am as constant as the northern star. And I said, constantly in the darkness, where's that at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar. And then off she goes to drink a case of him. So perhaps that's Joni Mitchell's take on what may have been said by the beloved or not. But we get to the third quatrain, and here we are back to defining by negation. Love is not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Time cuts down everyone. You think you're young and cute now, you're going to be, if you're lucky, you'll grow old and you'll get wrinkled and saggy and probably just as, probably think you just as beautiful as ever, but you'll be wrinkled and saggy beautiful. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. No matter how saggy and decrepit you get, I will love you till the edge of doom. And then the couplet. If this be error and upon me proved, and the etymology of error is from the Latin errare, which is to wander, which goes back to our wandering bark. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, no man ever loved, and the Pope isn't Catholic, and a bear doesn't shit in the woods. So, I love you is what he's saying here. But because we know he has he's written 115 other sonnets, nor no man ever loved, which could be no man has ever loved, or it could be I never loved any man, which, and I'm going to leave that there because I do understand how this might be read at weddings, and if you have had it read at your wedding, you can rest easy. It's okay. It's on the surface, it's quite lovely. It's a beautiful sentiment, and it actually fits in with a church service too, because it's abstract, it's lofty, it's ethereal, unreal, one might even say. But in context, I'd say it fits in with 111 through 115, which I call Confessions of a Wandering Bark. And in fact, if you think about that, it is lofty and ethereal. The only really concrete image in here is that poor little wandering bark. And it's not a navigating bark, it's a wandering bark. It's off on the sea with no place to go. Kind of a sad little image, if you ask me. I might even go to say, as far as to say that if one were to be particularly cynical, one could say that 116 could be read as, don't let my misdeeds get in the way of your loving me. It works almost as like kind of a desperate defense to the confession of his bad deeds from before, a last-ditch appeal, maybe the best gaslighting so far. So, I'm not going to honk again. I don't need to. This is male-male love. And, you know, dramatically we said it could be co-written at the time of Julius Caesar. But this is, I think, an impossible situation for our same-sex lovers. And make no bones about it, I held off. I wanted to read these sonnets in order, and I wanted to see for myself if there really was the possibility that these were love sonnets about a man being in love with another man. And I am fully convinced by Sonnet 116 that this is exactly what it is. This is a desperate situation. You know, I was thinking about it too. I don't know a lot about Elizabethan homosexuality, but I'm sure that, you know, some might argue that the promiscuity that is the hallmark of gay men might be a direct outgrowth of living in a society in which same-sex relationships or attractions break all the rules. And so then there are no rules and anything goes, and forming a lasting bond is forbidden, and every relationship will be fraught. And I think that's what's happening here. And this is the first time I've actually considered this poet narrator in this light, and I have to say it gives me quite a bit more compassion for his philandering, and a little bit more understanding, and actually a little bit more forgiveness. And I could see how a young beloved would stay with him for 100 sonnets or so. Now, do I think that Shakespeare was gay or Shakespeare was bisexual? I don't know, and I don't really care. Do I think that Shakespeare was an imaginative genius? Yes, I do. Could this have been Shakespeare observing what's been going on in the theater? Perhaps there's an older man who's in love with a younger man, and he thinks to himself, Shakespeare thinks to himself, I wonder what's going on there, what that must be like. Perhaps he's mapped it onto some of his own experiences of love with a woman or with a man. I don't know. But I do know that it's an incredibly dramatic series of sonnets, and it took me until Sonnet 116 to come to the understanding that this is radical. This is a radical set of sonnets. It's really, there's nothing quite like it to depict the relationship between two, not just two men. I think there was one man, and then that man separated, as couples do, and then there's another man who's come along again, but it's same-sex sonnets. And I find it really powerful and really strange, and I don't know anything like it. Even in Horace's odes and some of the other sonnet series where there is love between two men, but this is like explicit, it's carnal, it's emotional, it's romantic, it's fraught, it's an impossible situation, and I just really love it at this point. So couched between this sonnet, you know, which sounds like a nice sounding wedding sonnet, when you think about it, couched between the sonnets that came before and, spoiler alert, what comes after, Sonnet 116 isn't the rosiest piece of love poetry that it might appear to be at first. So in my research, when I was researching my bouquet, I found that red flowers, in particular the ruby ranunculus, is supposed to be representative of concentration and attention to detail. So I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to pretend that virtually I toss my bouquet to all of you out there, and you can receive it through the magic of YouTube, you can all catch the bouquet. And now you can go out and you can pay attention to all the wonders that are in your world. And you can also say to the people you love, tell them that you love them now, because it will never get stale. I promise you. I love you. Go out and pay attention to the world. Until we meet again, I am Tootight Lautrec. And I love you, Dr. Frankenstein.
And I love you, Tootight Lautrec.
Yeah, I know.